everyone, Quick Flicks is with you. Today, I'm going to tell you about the movie Terraformers. In the 21st century, the Earth is critically overpopulated, and therefore the government and corporations decide to populate Mars. However, the red planet is uninhabitable. Its terraforming is required. It is carried out by heating the surface of the planet and releasing gases stored in its strata to trigger the greenhouse effect. To do this, it was decided to make the surface of Mars darker for better absorption of solar energy. Moss and hordes of cockroaches were brought to the planet, which easily adapted to the harsh environmental conditions and could spread this moss on the planet. Several centuries pass, and it's time to reap the benefits of terraforming. 2597th year, Kamachi and his girlfriend Na Nao escape from police pursuit in a huge, densely populated city. Na Nao is a former prostitute who killed her pimp when Kamachi was fighting with him while protecting her friend. It's a whore. In order to save Na Nao from execution, Kamachi takes the blame for the murder on himself, and so they run headlong through the crowd, but they are cornered by several patrols and pointed weapons at them. An air car descends from the sky with someone who depends on whether Kamachi is executed or not. Contrary to expectations of the protagonist, he and his girlfriend are taken on board and taken to the office, where they learn that the mysterious stranger, Sairikara, is the organizer of the mission to Mars. Without much prefix, he offers them a choice: execution of Kamachi for the murder he committed and at least 10 years in prison for his girlfriend, or sending to the Red Planet with a planetary-scale mission. Kamachi doubts. He doesn't trust the people who captured him, but his companion decides to sign a contract, flattered by the reward. Kamachi has to sign his name too. 2599th year. On the ship on the way to Mars, they get acquainted with the rest of the expedition members, the dregs of society raised from the very bottom. Among them are representatives of the Yakuza, a terrorist, an underground fighter, a former police officer and prisoners, a maniac, a brothel owner, and a fugitive from Russia. What are you doing? That's enough, you fucking asshole. They are all wondering why they have assembled such a diverse team for such a simple mission. The mission is to prepare the planet for the landing of people on it. To do this, you just need to explore Mars, set up probes with poison, and spray it so that all the cockroaches die. That's what they do. The ship lands on the surface of a planet transformed beyond recognition. Instead of red rocks and red sand, it is covered with green moss and real Earth. There is breathable air. The captain divides the crew into groups and sends them to explore the surroundings. The probe has already released a portion of the poison, and you don't have to worry about the local cockroaches. However, the expedition members do not detect dead insects. Instead, they find Martians. Large humanoid creatures with large eyes, spikes, and developed muscles. Kamachi happily met one representative of the Red Planet. At this point, Kamachi learns that his girlfriend has agreed to a mission to Mars for him in order to save him from execution. And when that happens, a Martian appears. He slowly advances, not reacting to Kamachi's welcoming gesture. Then he makes a sharp, barely perceptible leap with ordinary vision, grabs Nao by the head, and breaks her neck.
Fatality.
Then he just as quickly disappears into the Martian steppe. Returning to the ship with the corpse of a friend, Kamachi finds out that another girl was killed, and one of the representatives of the local fauna is heading to their ship. He demands an explanation from the captain, and the rest of the crew join him. The captain remains silent until Kahonda, the organizer of the mission, appears. He tells the crew of the ship what happened after the cockroaches were sent to Mars. Despite the extreme conditions, and thanks to solar radiation, cockroaches mutated. Their accelerated evolution began. For 500 years, they have turned into humanoid, intelligent, and super strong beings who will not give up so easily. The first mission was sent, the members of which found out what happened to the cockroaches on Mars. They failed to cope with the task of destruction, and therefore the participants of the new mission were sown with insect DNA, providing each with an activator. The authorities are not going to let go of the expedition until then, until they injected themselves an activator and destroy all mutated cockroaches. He reminds them that everyone has signed a contract and will receive a reward upon returning to Earth. The captain warns that if you inject too much activator, you can remain an insect forever. With a normal dose of the substance, they will eventually take on the usual human appearance. Even so, the team hesitates to use the activator. They are afraid that it is because of him that the super-strong inhabitants of Mars appeared. Only one of them was crazy enough to give an injection. A terrorist nicknamed God injected an activator by inserting a capsule into a syringe gun and shooting it in the neck. Each team member has particles of their own insect in their DNA. And God turned half into a being capable of releasing fiery jets from the nozzles located in his palms. His body has changed. Antennae and part of the shell appeared. The hands lengthened. Nozzles formed on the palms. He left the ship to fight the mutant who killed Nana. The battle did not last long. At some point, everyone believed that God would crush the Martian. He even used fire jets, almost defeating the cockroach, but it survived and tore the terrorist in half.
Oh, come on!
Then the cockroach jumped on the window of the ship and tried to break through it. Kamachi wanted to inject the activator to avenge Nana, but the captain stopped him. He injected his drug, becoming a half-unkillable ant. When the mutant broke in and cut off the heads of 2 crew members, the captain laid him down in 2 counts, crushing his skull. At this time, a whole horde of the same cockroaches gathers around the ship, hungry for the death of people. The captain decides to violate the order of Kohanda, but immediately learns that his ship's systems are blocked and they will not be able to take off. He quickly finds a solution. He says that the crew will be able to escape on the ship of the first mission, located a few miles away from them.
The captain himself decides to stay here and distract the army of cockroaches. Almost everyone, except his assistant, leaves, and he starts butchering one mutant after another until people get out into a safe zone. Before joining the others, Kamachi looks into the compartment where his beloved's dead body lies. He promises her to come back and pick her up, and then he sees the thin threads of a spider's web stretching from her head somewhere to the side. The rover with the members of the expedition left the ship, and at the last moment, Kamachi managed to jump on it. To get away from the mutant cockroaches, one of the team, a maniac who has fallen for the Russian girl Maria, takes an activator, turns into his own kind of beetle, and shoots a jet catching on the roof of the rover. He develops great speed and takes people away from the ship. The captain sees this and orders the assistant, who remains with him, to close all the windows and doors when there are a lot of cockroaches in the ship. Then he orders to pump out all the air from the interior. Mutant cockroaches stop attacking him and begin to suffocate. The surviving members of the team are rushing through the boundless Martian desert, but then they notice a giant wave rising toward them. They think it's a tsunami, but it turns out that hordes of mutant cockroaches want to crush them. The team decides to break through the wave, and they succeed. Then comes the second wave of cockroaches, more impressive and numerous. To break through it, you will need serious protection. Maria and her friend inject their activators and turn into a beetle-like creature with an incredibly strong shell. They stand on the body of the rover to protect its engine, which gives jet thrust. Transport also breaks through the second wave, but with great difficulty. Having broken through the thickness of cockroaches, the rover can't stand it and turns over. The people who flew off the roof are seriously injured, and the cockroaches that arrived in time finish them off.
Fatality.
On the ship, where the captain turned off the air supply, the traders Ichiro Hiruma, who remained to help the captain, and Asuka Moriki were found. They received their own task to find the egg of mutant cockroaches and deliver it to Earth to study the evolution of these creatures. They return the oxygen supply, kill the captain, and are about to take off towards the house. Meanwhile, Kamachi and the rest of the survivors arrive at the landing site of the first shuttle, where they find out that their predecessors sent a capsule with an unknown filling to Earth. They are watched by a drone managed to behind the ship from the sandstorm. There is a view of the pyramids built by cockroaches. This is where Tako Honda reveals himself, tells the team why they were actually sent to Mars. They had to show their fighting skills so that the Honda Corporation would receive the necessary information about the peculiarities of the individual mutation of each team member. Moriki and Hiruma were supposed to deliver the egg to Earth. Then, Ko will be able to study cockroach embryos and create an army of obedient creatures that surpass nuclear weapons in power. Also, Ko Honda says that the first expedition sent a cockroach's head to Earth. Only thanks to this, they were able to connect the DNA of humans and insects. The experimental subjects themselves were planned to be abandoned on Mars at the end of the experiment. Both Chiro Hiruma and Asuka Moriki take off on the ship on which their expedition arrived, removing the locks, but the cockroaches of Mars do not want to let them go so easily. From the egg carried by the traitors, more perfect mutant twins hatch. They kill Moriki and Hiruma, but the latter only falls into suspended animation, having managed to inject himself with an activator. Cockroaches outside the ship, at the command of more advanced and newly hatched brethren, open their wings, take off, and force the ship to fall back to the surface of the planet. The modified twins, along with an army of cockroaches, attack Kamachi and the others. The same ones have already tried out their own mutations in coal activators. They deal with a squad of cockroaches, and along the way find out that they were able not only to build pyramids, but also learned how to use weapons.
Oh, come on!
When an army led by the twins arrives, the survivors decide to take the fight. A fierce battle ensues in which everyone is killed, except Kamachi and Jin Muto, the same street fighter. To survive, they inject a second dose of activator, so they become stronger and faster. But the mutant twins are not inferior to them in strength and agility. They start to gain the upper hand, so Muto decides to inject the activator again. He's turning more and more into an insect, kills more and more hordes of cockroaches, but cannot defeat the twins. Muto has to inject a few more doses of activator to kill at least one of the twins.
Fatality.
His strength is running out. So are Kamachi's powers. Hordes of cockroaches surround them, ready to kill them. But then, something beautiful appears in the sky. A luminous moth or butterfly, more like an angel. It is as if it is woven from millions of cobwebs shining in the light of the sun. Cockroaches and people freeze in admiration. Kamachi recognizes the butterfly on Nao. She wrapped herself in a cocoon of cobwebs on the ship, and when the time came, she transformed herself into a butterfly, but at the same time, she ceased to be herself. With each flap of the wings, on Nao tiny pollen falls to the ground, enveloping everything around, including an army of cockroaches. Kamachi realizes that Nao wants to save them by blowing herself and pollen up. He tries to stop her, but the surviving twin shoots the butterfly, triggering an explosive reaction. Muto saves Kamachi from the explosion, and he dies. Kamachi, the same, becoming a man, sees the surviving twin of a cockroach. With a few blows, he knocks him to the ground, but leaves him alive. Returning to the ship on which the second expedition arrived, Kamachi finds the traitor Ichido there. He explains to him that he only wanted to save his family from starvation and death. They decide to fly to Earth together and take revenge on Ko Honda for what he did on Mars. Seeing the escape capsule taking off, the cockroaches of Mars are also preparing to take off to shoot it down. However, the surviving twin, who is spared by Kamachi, stops them. He decides to give people a chance. Kamachi, however, as they move further into space, vows to return to Mars, because there remains what once was on Nao. On Earth, everyone will know what the Honda Corporation has done. Among his entourage is the government spy, Sakakibara. And when Ko decides to betray Japan and escape to another country with his developments, Sakakibara tries to kill him. Nothing comes out. Ko poisons the girl and runs in an unknown direction. You just watched the recap of Terraformers. Quick Flicks here. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next dimension.